Here we go. Chapter 88. The Dance with the Devil Part 1. Ever dance with the devil in a pale moonlight? Wait, who thought that? Gabe? Ah, shit. That whole thing is starting up again. Mr. Dorian was now just sitting there, his eyes still glued to the monitors, and he seemed to be in a world of his own, a world of melancholy, considering how depressed he seemed, as the sound of sex began to echo throughout the lobby. Say, what did you do with these monitors? I can't get crap from them anymore. Oh, there you go. I've got it now, mumbled out Mr. Dorian. For a second there, Michael couldn't even tell who the man was talking to. Mr. Dorian never directed his attention at him, but he was obviously speaking to him, since no one else was around. Michael's head fell back again as the pain continued to eat away at him. A second felt like a minute felt an hour, as Michael began to drift in and out of thought, feeling like he could no longer keep them at bay. The pain and his thoughts. He felt his senses going a mile a minute, and he began to feel his mind doing the same. The pain, the nuke, Mr. Dorian, this night, Nikki, his failure, and the end. God, what can I do now? Blurted out Michael incoherently, trying to speak as another wave of pain went through him, as he really began to feel like he was losing it. But then Mr. Dorian turned his chair around as it squeaked in grizzled splendor. He was facing Michael now, and strangely enough, he had an expression of sympathy on his face. Oh, I'll tell you what, son. Don't let Mr. Bonhoeffer there calling you an idiot get you down. No, sir, don't do that. You see, I got something for them. Those oubliettes. That's gonna make them wish they had never crossed the likes of me. What'd you say? Michael was still way too centered on the pain in his belly, and he had completely missed out on what Mr. Dorian had just told him. But after a second, his mind began to piece together what little he did pick up, and then Michael was left asking, Bonhoeffer? Who? Oh, I forgot. How did he introduce himself to you as? The man that just left, asked Mr. Dorian. For a second there, Michael felt like his eyes were about to roll into his sockets. But then he got a hold of himself and to say his name. Parsley, said Michael. Oh, so he introduced himself to you first. What? Never mind. Just a sing-along game the oubliettes like to play with their aliases, responded Mr. Dorian as he creaked back into his chair. Michael began panting again as he felt like he was at least regaining some ability to speak again. Boy, oh boy. Look at them broads going at it. Yep, Mr. Dorian, as his nostrils flared in excitement. Love to see broads like this that know how to get their rocks off. Bonhoeffer, murmured out Michael again. Love to see this. Fucking dames. Only time when they're ever worth anything. Mr. Dorian sighed as he shook his head and seemed melancholic again. Michael, on the other hand, felt like throwing his arms up, seeing how he was talking to a brick wall. Oh, right, I forgot. You see, that there was Mr. Bonhoeffer, explained Mr. Dorian as he pointed back to where Mr. Parsley just left. Mr. Bonhoeffer. Definitely a German name. The fucking kraut. I learned a long time ago never to trust his kind. They're genuinely inhuman. Mr. Dorian took his feet and placed them on the table, then started eyeing Michael all curious like, Say, what are you? Where does your family line come from? Michael became puzzled to why this man even cared. Come on, what are you? You can tell a lot about a man by their family history. I'm American. Now lay off, responded Michael. Bullshit. There's no such thing. It's just an idea. So what are you? Asked Mr. Dorian as he glared intently like it really mattered to him. Fine, I'm German, responded Michael with an antagonizing smile. No, I don't see that either. Plus, your last name is Connelly, and that's Irish. Fine, I'm Irish, German, and Armenian," disclosed Michael, trying to close the subject so Mr. Dorian could go back to the story of Mr. Bonhoeffer. "Ah, now there you go. That there paints a picture," responded Mr. Dorian as his eyes lit up. "Irish, I see, definitely. That's where the fire and stupidity comes from. I like that, though. Let me guess, your dad used to smack you around a lot, didn't he?" Michael's eyes blazed open, rash and irritated, realizing the man was trying to read his soul through racial stereotypes. He began to feel dull and contemptuous over the subject. "Nice one. Irish dad drinks a lot and beats his kids. Lucky guess there, asshole." "German? I don't know. Maybe. I don't like them much. But from what I've gathered, they're very anal about everything, like they got OCD or something. And I get this impression from them that they have some deep inner conflict over right and wrong." "All right," thought Michael, unsure of all that. "But as for Armenian, I've always had some fascination with them." "All right," Michael thought again, growing impatient. "Pitiful people. Simply pitiful. They're the poor man's Jew. A forgotten group of people time abandoned a long, long time ago, back in Roman days. But somehow they're magically still around when they shouldn't be. And they can be some of the most arrogant and egotistical people on earth, looking around desperately for any bit of recognition, even though in today's world, no one gives a damn, because they're so small and pitiful." Laughed out Mr. Dorian, and then went back to eyeing the monitors. "Yeah, whatever, who the fuck is..." "Fine, you want to know something about Mr. Bonhoeffer, right? Well, I'll tell you. Him and his oubliettes thought they were so sly, so slick, and so untouchable and untraceable that they could stage a coup tonight, take my bomb away from me, and use it for their own political games. They thought they could do that. Nobody would have grown wiser." Mr. Dorian's eyes looked like harpoons now, and Michael saw how he was centering them on the man that just left. "But I found out. I got ears everywhere, and I got people on the inside to everything. So once I found out, I sat down, called up some boys at the Pentagon that were still willing to listen. I gave them a list of names and what they were planning. I told them boys at the Pentagon, these judges had a bomb. And once the judges found out the Pentagon knew, they came running straight to me." Mr. Dorian grinned and lifted up his thumb, pointing himself out. "Knowing that the U.S. would hunt them down to the ends of the earth, they came running with their tails between their legs to the only man they knew could make them disappear, where not even the U.S. government could find them. Of course, little do they know, there's really no hiding from the government. If they seriously want to find your ass, they eventually will, I know. Those fucking idiots. But anyways, so in a week from now in Venezuela, when they're in their white chateaus, lying in a pool chair while being served by topless Latin women, thinking how they got away scot-free, loving it, that's when it's going to happen." Michael began to see what direction this was all going in, as he turned his head back towards the direction of that Mr. Bonhoeffer, or whoever he was that had just left. "They wanted to use my bomb. Hell, they didn't even know what was really down there. They wanted to use that after they had taken care of me. I got something for them. I got something very special for them come a week from now." Michael felt a bit nauseated now, just thinking about what Mr. Dorian was capable of. My boys down there in Venezuela got something very special for them. You know, down in South America, they have such horrifically beautiful ways of torturing people to death. They like to take this thin piece of glass that's thin enough to fit in that small hole. I could only fathom what hole he was referring to. Stick it in and break it off. And then for a week straight, they'll make them drink 10 gallons of water a day and shut up! Shut up! You're fucking sick. I don't want to hear this anymore, yelled Michael as he spat up with more blood. "Oh, don't tell me you feel sorry for that Mr. Bonhoeffer, that fucking kraut," asked Mr. Dorian, seeming confused as to why this young punk would care. How can you do something that sick and disgusting to someone else? Mr. Dorian's eyes narrowed down to Michael's and grew an indifferent look, then shrugged. No, seriously, how the fuck can you... Oh, shut up. Son, stop thinking like such a child. The world has been a sick place long before you or I were ever born, responded Mr. Dorian in irritation. He then lifted up a bottle of Jack Daniels he had, that Michael hadn't noticed, took one giant gulp and took almost a quart of the bottle with it. And that's your excuse? Asked Michael, wondering what type of sick world this man was coming from. You know what? When you got here in that motorcycle and took care of those two niggas, and then that gang of pansies, which I have to admit I was impressed by, did you know Mr. Bonhoeffer wanted you dead? And quickly, too. He had his men hiding all around in the bushes waiting for these America's finest here. Mr. Dorian sprawled his hand towards the group of dead bodies laying all about. And we were all taken back when you came back. Mr. Bonhoeffer and I were in a separate security office room with monitors, similar to this one, but the one that the government would use when they had offices here. Also, I have to say, seeing and hearing you on those monitors, pacing up and down, cussing out that bomb, has to be the stupidest and funniest thing I've seen in a long time, explained Mr. Dorian as he began to strangely wheeze a bit, as if though he was laughing. Michael now came to the realization that the whole experience he had with the bomb down there in the garage, it was all on camera. Ah, fuck you. The cussing out nukes is my joke. I don't want you to find it funny. You're something really stupid and crazy, I tell you, said Dorian. And then Michael realized the man was starting to get friendly with him. Wait, what's going on here? As Michael realized he and Dorian now were sharing a moment, a strong moment, that of two kindred souls looking into each other and seeing true kinship and meaning and a sense of, no, with the kid fine, but not with this evil fucker here. I mean, the motherfucker shot me. He shot me. I'm dying here. So fuck you, Gabe, and that kindred soul bullshit. Not happening. Hell no. But anyways, when you first got here, Mr. Bonhoeffer wanted you dead that second. But I said, hold up there. I want to see what the soldier boy there is going to do. Michael remembered how he felt he was being watched when he got to 1999. And now he realized why. So anyways, don't feel sorry for a piece of shit like that. That man has done enough horrific things in his life to deserve it. Trust me. Because not all the stories about the night slashes are false, said Mr. Dorian as his eyes began trying to spell out the horrific details of Mr. Bonhoeffer's tale. Michael broke out with a small chuckle as he couldn't help having one more from the hypocrisy of it all. Luckily, this time the eruption of pain wasn't so bad. He's getting what's coming to him, said Mr. Dorian. And what's coming to you, huh? Since you're such an angel there, asked Michael, trying to get his attention again. Mr. Dorian then sunk back, both in his chair and into his thoughts. What are you doing? Why are you still here? Asked Michael. Seeing as how Mr. Dorian was in a chatty mood, questions now began popping up in Michael's head that he figured he might as well ask. Fucking trying to be buddy-buddy with me. Michael now wanted to believe he had been mistaken about what he saw down there, seeing that bomb, that nuke? Or was it? He couldn't understand what this Mr. Dorian would really want to do with it. He can't just want to blow it up to blow it up. I don't believe it. He can't be that one-dimensionally evil. He's up to something here. Just what? And if he did want to blow it up, then why was he sitting here chatting with Michael when he should have been fleeing from the city? And if he didn't want to blow up the bomb, then what did he want to use it for? I gotta think about these things right now. I can't just think about sleep and think fuck all this. Maybe I can still do something to change things, thought Michael. And why is he trying to be friendly with me? Maybe because you and him have a lot of things that are similar. Shut up, Gabe. Shut the fuck up. Don't even get me started with that possibility. I don't want to hear it. Michael then began pointing at Mr. Dorian to get his attention. And Dorian there did. What are you pointing at, son? Didn't your mother ever teach you it's rude to point? Asked Mr. Dorian sarcastically. Don't call me son. What are you doing just sitting there? Demanded Michael. As Michael said those words, Mr. Dorian began twitching and turning, seeming twisted about something or another. Then he took another large gulp of his Jack Daniels and said, I'm waiting for the Grim Reaper. That took Michael back a notch, as he wondered why he would be. Just like you, preached out Mr. Dorian as he looked straight into Michael's eyes. And that now scared Michael shitless, hearing it come from his mouth. Something he'd been doing all night long, and now hearing how this Mr. Dorian was too. Fuck this situation that I'm in. I hate this place and I hate this man. I want to be with... Michael began to think about the possibility again. If I had just left with Nikki, we wouldn't be here. Michael felt like Mr. Dorian here had bought him a one-way ticket to hell, and now hearing him speak of the Reaper felt like confirmation. Seeing into his eyes, that bloody tale that he saw in him before was now being fully realized, and now Michael felt his sense of self merging with this monster here, this devil. And as he felt that, he then felt his mitts wanted to go into a frenzy. Why'd you come back? Asked Mr. Dorian while staring at the monitors again, as the sound of those women continued to fill the airways. Oh, suck it, yeah. What? Mr. Dorian then realized that the volume of those women was getting higher, and too high for Michael to make out what he was saying. Mr. Dorian now lowered it. Once you took care of my boy Alejandro Angel Eyes, fuck him! Fuck that asshole, interrupted Michael, thinking about how he'd stare at Nicky every chance he got. Mr. Dorian frowned and then said, Don't be so quick to judge him. You don't know what type of hell he came from, the type of hell I found him in. He was a sick bastard, I'll admit, but all he ever wanted was a father figure, which he saw in me. He had a very sad concept of life and death, like nothing mattered, and all he wanted was something to matter. That boy there had seen things, been through things, not even I can imagine, and I've seen a lot. Michael shrugged, as to say, I don't give a shit, and Mr. Dorian noticed. Oh, what do you know? You used to see how the rest of the world lives. It's way worse, I tell ya. This country might have a serious problem with crime right now, but the world he came from was far, far worse. Fuck Alejandro, fuck, boo fucking who. There should never be an excuse. It don't matter how cruel, uncaring, or bad or brutal people get. You always gotta stand out and be an example. You of all people, noticing how much of a sick fuck he was just makes me glad I killed him. Justice. At least it won't haunt me like killing Madboy has been all night long. Thought Michael as Mr. Dorian went back to what he was saying earlier. You could have left. And you could have taken that Miss Jackson. Always got the impression she was all French. Seeming so smug, filled with so much vanity, yet also something very pitiful about her. And if vanity was a nationality, it would be... Mr. Dorian seemed to be breaking off there for a second. Anyways, you could have taken her and driven out of town. So why'd you come back? Asked Mr. Dorian. Shit. Thought Michael, then realizing just how much of a fuck-up that really was. Now that even Mr. Dorian here was bringing it up. Michael sighed. Coming all this fucking way to play Rambo? Why? Seriously, son, young filly like that, I would have taken her to somewhere far, to a motel maybe, and I'd been sticking it to her all over, all night long. Young hot filly like that, and I've heard stories of how good she... Shut up! Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear that crap. What is it, boy? Not into gals? You more into Peter Puffin yourself? Asked Mr. Dorian as he had a small chuckle, remembering how Michael had played him. Michael said nothing. I like what you did back there, though. It was a lot of fun. Most people are too intimidated by me to be so bold and stupid. But anyways, Mr. Dorian squinted a bit forward as he began picking up clues. Oh, wait. I get it now. So it's not just a fling. You two have history, and you have a thing for her, and not just the one you got in your trousers. Detected Mr. Dorian as he began pointing with his index, doing that naughty motion with it. Michael fell back and felt like this devil was once again finding his way underneath his skin. Well, anyways, I think I might know why you came back. I saw in your eyes. There's something crazy in there. I saw. But what got you to that point, I wonder. Then Mr. Dorian began sniffing up more clues. What happened to that pretty gal back there? Asked Mr. Dorian again, still doing that same motion with his index finger. Michael said nothing as Mr. Dorian began picking up even more clues, began reading the signals being broadcasted by Michael. Did you do something? Asked Mr. Dorian as he narrowed his eyes back on Michael, sensing something troubling him that had all to do with her. Michael didn't respond, but still continued to broadcast without himself knowing it. What broadcast? I'm not saying shit. It's your body language, Michael. That's what he's reading. Ah, shit, my poker face. Oh. I see what happened. She said something to send you off, and you placed your hands on her. And that's why you came back here, hammered out Mr. Dorian, as he made one last motion with his index and nailed it. How do you know that? Cried out Michael, growing delirious at the thought that this man was able to read his thoughts. Mr. Dorian just sat back and shrugged. 'Cause I see that shit happen all the time. You're not the first man that's ever gone berserk and placed his hands on his woman. Dames. What can you do with them? They'll make a man do a lot of crazy shit just so he can feel sane and sound again. Mr. Dorian shook his head and then took another giant gulp and finished off the bottle. Then took out another bottle from a duffel bag next to him. Damn, this guy sure knows how to pound it. Michael then started to feel questions circling his head, and the most important ones being questions about the bomb. He wanted to start entertaining the notion again that he might have been mistaken what he'd seen down there. Even a small little blockbuster like a daisy cutter would have been better compared to what he didn't want to imagine. I mean, what the fuck do I know about bombs? Did I really see that? Was it real?